Hi, I'm Maria and I'm from Love Book Folding, and this is the video for the pattern, book folding pattern, He Is Risen. So it's a cut and fold pattern. So what you'll need is a book, okay, hardback book, and also a pencil, a bone folder, which is optional because you can use your finger, scissors, ruler, and obviously the pattern and the instructions, which you can get from lovebookfolding.com on my Etsy shop, Love Book Folding. Okay, so obviously you need a ruler, and this ruler has had quite a lot of attention. Basically what it is, it's a standard plastic crafting ruler, but what I've done, I'll get that in the camera there, is just screwed a little piece of plastic to it so that it hooks over the page. So you know, that's one less thing to worry about, because that fits nicely there and you can measure down, no problem at all. So you can't buy it as it is, but I've just amended. Just a quick note, I actually now use, I'll just get it here, sorry, an Incra rule, which is absolutely brilliant, and you can find these online. If you do a search for Incra rules, then it should come up. They're actually made in the USA, so they're cheaper in the USA. You can get them in centimetre versions and inches as well. This is a 30 centimetre one. As you can see, it just hooks over the page, but the beauty of it is when you get your measurement, you just put your you need a mechanical pencil, okay, like this one, and where the measurement is, you just pop it into the hole and you can drag it across, so you can make a nice line there. So that I would recommend. I'll use the Perspex ruler for the purposes of the video, because most people just have a standard ruler. Okay, so we'll imagine that we've found our starting page. Now if you're not sure how to find your starting page, you can have a look at my book folding basics course, which you'll find on lovebookfolding.com, and I'm pretty sure it's lesson 5 on there, so you can go through that to see how you can do, how you find your starting page. Okay, so once we've found our starting page, the first thing we've got to be doing is marking the top marks. Okay, so these will be the marks that we'll be folding back to later on, so we're marking along the top edge of the page here. Now I go into more detail about top marks in the alphabet pattern tutorial, so if you have a look and go to it, it's around 11.5 seconds, and it'll go into more detail, but basically what it's doing is it dictates really where the different aspects of the pattern is going to be. So I just if you have a look at page 6 of the instructions, step 10 variations, you'll see the differences that you'll get. Okay, so when I initially did the cross, the first one I did so that the cross was indented from the background. Okay, so it was this one, and then without changing any of the measurements, any of the cuts, or anything at all, I changed the background and the cross, so the background was then folding back to 6 centimeters and the cross was folding back to 5, so that made it protrude. So this is basically what it looks like in that format. Okay, but have a look at the alphabet pattern, and you know, you can have a look at how those top marks can affect. So if we go back to the instructions, and we'll see that we'll just get to the correct page on here. Okay, so we're going to do the top marks. and so for this pattern we go to our starting page, so imagine we found that, and as I explain also in the alphabet pattern, I tend to use a piece of card. I mark up where I want to fold to, and that just makes it easier, but you can use a ruler if you like. Okay, so that piece of card just flips over the edge there. I'll use a biro here so you can see the marks. You might not see them in pencil, and I just mark those top marks depending on when, and it's at this stage doesn't matter where you're folding across and where you're folding the background, just mark those three. So I've got 6, 5 and 4 centimeters, but the marks are at 8, because then what we do is fold to that mark. Okay, so where you're folding to is double the fold line. Okay, so that's doing the top marks. That's step 3 in the pattern instructions, and next we'll be going on to making the marks actually for the cross. Okay. So having marked each of our page, so right through the book, the top marks, okay, we then go back to the pattern, and now we're going to start making the marks for each of the elements. Okay, so if we have a look at the pattern sheet, okay, we have fold number 1. I've split them into each of the elements, so it's hopefully a bit easier to keep track of where you are. So there's no mark for the cross on fold 1, there's no mark for he is, and there's just the mark for the R. And if we see why, we go back here, this is the start here, so this is, I'll get that in camera shot for you. Tricky, there we go. Okay, so it's the R that's the first element that you see in the pattern. Okay, so that's why there's nothing up here yet. The cross is a little bit further along as well, so there's nothing until we get to that fold for the cross. Okay, so so the only marks we've got here, 2 marks at 19 and 19.3. so if I get that in better shot for you, so 19 there and 19.3 there. Okay, so then we go to the next one. We would have marked the top marks there, so again no mark for the cross or he is, and then ER for risen, 18.9 there and 19.5 there. Okay, and we just continue to follow through, so each fold, and then if I jump forward then to where we've got, so it's fold number 6, so then the H for he is just coming into play now, so we do fold number 6 would be 13.1 there, 13.35 there. I'm doing this not very accurately, but obviously you'd have more time and get in a better position for he is risen, so risen is 18.65, 18.65 and 19.85, 19.85 like that. Okay, just carry on and mark each of the ones, each of the marks that's on the grid, and then so for fold number 19 where the cross starts, you'll be doing all of those measurements on the one page. Okay, so now we're going to be folding back to these marks here. and the top marks. So each of our pages will now have the top marks and also all the marks for the pattern for that fold number will be all down there as well. So no folds yet, just all the marks along here and along here right the way through, so you've done all of the ones for the whole of the pattern. Okay, so now next stage is to fold to these marks here. So we're folding back to each of those marks. So you're folding back, and then so the front edge of the page goes to each of those marks each time. Okay, and you, to make sure you're parallel, you can take more time, but have a look, and you can bring that page a little bit over the top and then down so that it's nice and flush there, and that should make sure that your folds are nice and parallel. Okay, so that's the folded back. So what I tend to do now is the next stage for each page, rather than going through folding all those, because now the page is not flat, so it becomes more difficult if you do that all the way through. So what I then do is cut at the marks. So scissors obviously, and then you just place the scissors on that mark. Use the text as a guide to keep those marks nice and parallel, and then each time you're cutting to the last fold that you've made. Okay, so then so we're cutting through that fold, and that fold. Okay, and then this is where it depends where you're folding the cross to and where you're folding the background to. So if we follow the instructions, my initial fold, the cross was indented, so the first fold that you do is folding to 5, so that's the middle mark, middle top mark that is. This is the R, so there's nothing for the cross yet, so that's going to 4, and then background again to 5. Now because we've got 3 different measurements of fold here, what I've used, and this is just a guide, okay, so it's not going to be accurate as you mark, and I know some patterns actually use this method. This is not what it's designed to do. I mean, it probably would work if you use these to mark off, but that's not what it's designed for. What it's designed for is when your page is open, just slip that under, okay, and you can see that there's nothing here. So if we go to what I'll do, I'll mark up one because it becomes more apparent and more critical when we get to this further on here, where we've got the cross, we've got letters and backgrounds here. It can get confusing, but all I would say, don't worry if you fold back to the wrong position initially. If at the end, once you've done it, you can go back and have a look where it's wrong, and it'll become obvious, more obvious, where it's got to be folded back to. So don't be too worried at this stage about getting it absolutely right, because as long as your cuts are in the right place and you've done all your marks, you know, it should be fine. So I'll just mark up one further along here, and I'll show you exactly what I do. Okay, so if we have a look at fold number 23 as an example, what we've done so far is that we've made the marks for the top marks, we've made the marks for the fold number all down the front edge of the page, and we've folded back to these marks as well. Okay, so now what you need to be doing before you cut is to slip the pattern guide underneath, and this isn't to be used as an accurate measurement, because as you can see, if I look down here, the marks are out for the R. don't worry about that, because when you print this off, it's not going to be quite the same as the accurate marks that are on the spreadsheet. Okay, so make sure you're going to these marks. Okay, so this is just a guide to see where you are. So obviously the white is the background, the black is for the cross, and the grey for the letters. So if, for instance, what we're doing here is we're folding the cross back to 6 centimetres, and we're folding the background to 5, so the cross is going to be indented, and then the letters folding back to 4 centimetres. So what I do is on the guide, I just put what on here, so that'll be 5. The grey, so in fact I'll do, if you can see that, in fact if I put it, write it here for you. So white is the background, so for this that's going to be 5. The black is for the cross, which will be at 6, and then grey is at 4. So that helps you keep a track with where you are. So the white is the background, so everywhere where it's white, what I do is write 5 here. The black would be to 6, the grey is to 4, so we're going back to white here, so that will be 5, and then there's just a little bit of the F, that is, so that's the letters, which is grey, back to white, which is 5, back to grey, which is 4, white 5, grey 4, white 5, grey 4, white 5, grey 4, and white. So that shows you where you're folding back to. Okay, so then you don't necessarily, once you know where you are with the pattern, you don't necessarily have to do that every time. You know, you don't, but it's where it gets a little bit complicated, where you've got the 3 together. And as I say, it doesn't matter if you make a mistake, because you can always, you know, fold it back to where you think it is, and then when you're finished, you can then sort of have a look and refold back to the right position. It won't cause you a problem whatsoever. So, and make those cuts, as I say, use the text to guide you. When you're cutting sort of thin strips like this, it does make a difference that your scissors are sharp. Makes it a lot easier. As I say, we're cutting right back to that last vertical fold where we folded back to 6, and it just makes it easier when we're folding into position, particularly, you know, when they're thin like this. Okay, so last cut, which is probably off the camera, but, and then we can see where we've got to fold to, so you don't have to write this on, but just reminder, these are the sorry, that's 6, so that's to 5, so that goes to that. So because we've pre-folded, that's a lot easier. 6 is the last one there, then we're going 4, so that's the first one, 5, 4, so this is creating the letter there, 5, 4, there, 5, 4, 5, 4, you can still see that, 5, 4, 5. Okay, and if I get a piece of coloured card behind, you'll be able to see that. So that's what fold number 23 would look like. Okay, a little tip here is when you've got quite a lot of tabs, these positioned here, and they're thin, etc., what I tend to do is slip a piece of card to keep them flat, then close the book, then take the card out, and that helps keep those into position, and then you can just open that up again to go to the next one with that one folded, so you'd go to the next page. Okay, so as I say, that grid will sort of help you, but don't worry if you get it wrong, and you just carry on right to the end, and you'll have something like this, but these will be reversed. So this finished product here, the cross, as I say, was folded to 5 and the background was 6. Okay, so I hope that helps. Any problems, please message me. The best one actually is via Etsy, but also on lovebookfolding.com or Maria@lovebookfolding. Okay, so my Etsy shop is Love Book Folding, so if you go onto Etsy and search for that shop Love Book Folding, you'll find all my patterns there. And happy folding. Thanks, bye.